Hello and welcome to Career Talk. I'm Lee Hopwood, CEO at the CCMA and host of this live show where I chat with contact centre professionals to find out about their career journey so far. And every single story is different and every single story is inspiring. And that's really recognised by the number of people out there that are watching these Career Talks. And what I find really fascinating is the variety of career paths that we are uncovering through Career Talk, and just really the passion for customer service, the passion for working with people, and the fact that it really is a great place to work, working in the contact center industry. And so joining me today, I am really excited to have the Executive Director and Head of Service Operations at JP Morgan Chase, and this year's Contact Centre Leader of the Year award at the UK National Contact Centre Awards, Chris Lee. Hello and welcome.
Lee, hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Hope you're well.
Yeah, I am really well. And how are you today? Have you had a good week?
I'm good. Yes, Friday tends to make life feel great no matter what your week's been. So yes, busy, manic as usual, but yeah, super successful and had a great week, Lee. Yeah.
No, well, I have to start by saying a massive congratulations on your gold win. You are the current recognised Contact Centre Leader of the Year. I mean, that is an incredible accolade. And I know just how competitive that category is. So it is an incredible achievement. What does that mean to you? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to really achieve this in your career?
Look, and you and I touched upon it at one of the events that we met at recently, right? It's still relatively hard to comprehend, right? I think my mind is still a bit blown by the whole experience. Looking at the I guess the awards post the evening, I remain immensely humbled, right? I mean, I've made a lot of sacrifices in my career to hopefully get to be in a position where I can be at my best, and there's a real kind of positive affirmation that you get on the back of these things, right? So to be recognised in the way that I have, knowing the journey that I've been on, and I've been around for a while, right? I think we'll get into kind of my career history, etc. What I would say, in recognising that it's an individual award, right? The most recent part of my story would not be achievable without the team at Chase, right? I'm immensely proud to be working for the people that I work with day in day, and the environment and the culture that we've managed to create here, right? So I genuinely see this as an award for everybody, and massive thanks to the team at Chase who have helped me, as I say, be at my best over the last 4 years.
But you talked about the sacrifices that you've made over the years, and you're right. We are going to dive into your career and see where you go. But I just want to explore that a little bit further. What kind of sacrifices do you feel you've made?
So again, kind of chronology, I think, is important here, right? So I've been in contact centers for 28 years. I started off, 95, 96. And through that, I've got married. I've had 2 kids. We've lived in Newcastle. We've lived in Edinburgh. We've lived in Dunfermline. So we've moved around, right? And that's been solely down to I guess my career drive, my aspirations, wanting to be the best that I can, right? And Laura, my wife, has put up with a lot. There's lots of early mornings, waking the house up when I leave at 4:30, 3:30. There's lots of late evenings. There's lots of things that I miss with parents' evening. However, I was at Freddie's parents' evening last night. He's my youngest, which he had a good one. So well done, Freddie. So there's, when you have kids and when you're part of a family unit, right? There are things that you try and balance and that you have to prioritize. But I've missed things throughout the last 15, 16 years. My eldest, Archie, is 15. So since he's been born, we lived in Newcastle. We moved back up to Scotland again for my work, right? So and tying that back into the award, right? I don't really bring work home. I mean, obviously my family are aware of what I do and such like, but I kind of like to switch off and be really present, right? I try my best to do that anyway, yeah. So I don't hugely talk about work. I don't hugely reference things. And if I'm being honest with you, I think my family knew that I was going to the awards and that I was up for an award probably like the week before, when I'm saying, right, so I'm not going to be here this coming Monday, Tuesday, etc. So to have the reaction from them, I remember phoning Freddie on the evening and, saying, hey, look, I've managed to win it, right? And to hear him say, wow, it's super cool, I understand what you do, and just to be so excited on my behalf. And it's not that I wasn't excited, right? But I'm kind of, what I do day on day and what I've done throughout my whole career is to create memories and to create magic moments for my kids and for my family, right? That's my purpose, and that's why I'm doing what I do, right? So I guess to be able to anchor that and to have something that was tangible, that they watched the videos and they've seen the photos and such like, it really brought, probably for the first time in my career, the crossover between my personal life and my working career, right? So to have your kids say they're really proud of you is a magic moment, right? I mean, I do things that are pale into insignificance compared to other industries. And, if you think about emergency services, all that stuff, right? What I do is relatively straightforward. Hopefully it's positive to a lot of people, but, I'm not saving lives, right? And to have that context of your kids being really proud of you for doing what I've done, really, that's the seal for me. So super proud.
Do you know what? I love that. The fact that your little ones turned around and said, "I'm really proud of you, Daddy." That's so good. That's so good. So what impact has this recognition had on you as a person, as well as obviously that crossing the divide between work and family, but also so in your career, but also in your life.
Yeah. So as I made reference, I've been in contact centres for a while. I started off as a specialist, right? And we'll kind of come to that a little bit more in depth shortly, Lee, right? But the reason I reference it now, I've grown up over that time probably with a bit of imposter syndrome, right? Being an advisor back in 1996, selling sky dishes, I always had this reverence of the people leads and the management team, etc. And it really took me a while to get that level of self-belief through my career, to be able to really anchor that, hey, I'm pretty good at what I do, right? And I guess winning the awards certainly helped with that. It's helped me relax a little bit, believe in yourself a little bit more, right? So yeah, from that perspective, it's been immensely positive, right? I recognise the responsibility or the responsibility that comes with winning the award as well, right? It's really my duty to kind of pay this forward, I believe. So I've thoroughly enjoyed attending some of the events with yourself and other award winners and the CCMA community, right? And it's great to be able to share my stories. It's great to be able to hopefully inspire, and likewise, I'm continuously learning as well. Some of the stories that I've heard from other award winners, and just being embedded in the CCMA community and being a part of the narrative that goes on in our industry, I'm selfishly still stealing with pride, right? So this award has given me probably a bigger platform to be able to understand, true industry best practice, but also a platform to hopefully, maybe land some pearls of wisdom that people can take away with themselves and can think, yeah, that's a good idea, Chris. Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
And it's really interesting what you said there about imposter syndrome, and this is almost giving you that confidence, that nod that actually you're doing all right. I was asked recently about imposter syndrome, and my view is I think everyone has imposter syndrome. It's just the levels maybe that which you have it, and having that senior leaders need to know that they're doing a good job. It's, we do a lot of making sure that frontline are doing it, they recognize they're doing a good job and really praising them. We do a lot of supporting managers and management and supporting and through praise. But we maybe forget that senior leaders need that too. They need to know that they're doing all right too. It's a different job. I appreciate that, but yeah, you still need that. Do you know what? You're doing a good job. It's you still need that.
It's super important, right? And again, this might sound a bit twee, right? But it can be quite lonely at times in the role of senior leadership, right? Now, I work with a truly outstanding team here at Chase, both my peers, my seniors, and the people that I represent. But when you've got to really work through the decisions, when you've got to take accountability for what it is that you're doing, it can feel quite lonely, right? And to be able to have affirmation, and I'm if you think about insights, I'm a shiny kind of yellow, red in equal measure, right? So I seek approval and I seek appreciation and I seek that level of affirmation. So it's inherent in me from a kind of energies perspective, which I need to be super aware of, right? But yeah, indeed, yeah, we like to be told we're doing a good job, right? And to have it from an external industry that's outside of your workplace, etc., is just phenomenal. So yeah, hugely proud.
Congratulations. So you are now head of service operations for Chase Bank. What does that mean? What does your day-to-day, week by week look like? What are you responsible for in that role?
A lot. And again, we've been on I've been at Chase now for 4 years. I started September 2019, and we've built the bank for the first couple of years through COVID, which was an interesting exercise. And again, credit to everybody who contributed there. For the last 2 years, we've been live in the market, so to speak. So we are a fully fledged digital bank. My core responsibility is looking after the frontline specialists across what we call our everyday banking team that are spread across the globe, Europe, Southeast Asia. I also look after the workforce optimization team, the planning team. I've got kind of end-to-end accountability for customer experience within the service centres. I've got site responsibility in Berlin and Warsaw. So lots of people things, lots of customer things, and clearly lots of business opportunities on a day-to-day basis, right? So I guess my day on day, my week on week is hugely varied, right?
Yeah.
I balance, or I try to balance the tactical with the strategic. So having a population of people spread across the globe, there's a lot of kind of Zoom catch-ups. There's a lot of what happened yesterday, what are we thinking about today, what's happening for the rest of the week, what's happening for this month. So really in the tactical, are we getting back what we thought that we were going to get back, and then balancing that out with the strategy of the bank and the strategy of service operations, which I represent, right? I've already made reference that I started off as a specialist way back in the day with Sky, and it's inherent in me, and it always will be, to never lose sight of that, right? So what I do in my day-to-day job always anchors back to the front line, right? They're the most important people in our organization, and as such, I start off my day reading the CSAT comments that come back, recognizing the specialists that are doing a fantastic job for us, balancing that with some of the complaints that come back. It's really important for me to anchor the true voice of the customer at the start of the day, so that I can set myself up. I like to ensure that the team understand that I'm there to remove barriers and to remove blockages for them, right? I'm practicing at getting out of the way. I continue to practice at getting out of the way, right? Because I've got, again, a super talented team that I've got the pleasure of being able to lead, right? But we've got plans. We calibrate it back on a day-to-day basis with things like voice of the customer, with our complaints, with the voice of our specialists, and we get on and hopefully build out some tremendous experiences for both people and customers, Lee. Yeah, so lots of responsibility. I'm blessed to have that level of responsibility. Not enough time in the working week, I'm sure, like all of us, which leads to brutal prioritization at times, but not forgetting where I came from and really anchoring back into what does it feel to wee Johnny on the phone is super important to me. Yeah.
And I mean, that's a massive job. That's a big job that you've got. And therefore your reliance on the team around you must be incredibly important, because you can't, as much as you talked about tapping into the tactical, you can't be there. There's too much going on. You have to be at that senior level. So you must have built a really fabulous team working with you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the team across Chase, whether it's my direct team or whether whether it's colleagues of mine, are fantastic. We've had the opportunity to build something special here, right? And part of that, in fact, the big part of that for me are the people that we've managed to attract to the organisation, we do create some really robust development pathways for these individuals. So we hire talent, but we hopefully create an environment where that is nurtured and people can be at their best. And that's part of my day on day, right? Is creating the environment where people feel they can be themselves. Number one, that's super important. I've learned that throughout my career, that being a chameleon only gets you so far. You've got to at some point understand who you are and feel comfortable enough to demonstrate that, to be that person, and to live comfortably in your own skin, right? So recruiting diverse talent and building a diverse team is super, super important for me and super important for the business, right? And we've been blessed with that, right? So yes, I have a great team, and yes, a lot of them are far better at doing what they do than what I would be at doing that. So that's the key for me, is get out the way, let them get on with it. And sometimes I seek permission to go and have a nosy in their business, because I'm still super intrigued and super interested, right? But as you say, I can't be in the problem for too long. I've got to jump in and jump back out again, and trust that the team deliver against it. And 100% they do that, right? I would also say that as well as the strategic and the tactical, and working on customer initiatives and calibrating what's working from a strategic level, I get a lot of enjoyment from being involved in our business resource group. So I'm one of the exec sponsors of Bold Scotland, which is kind of developing black pathways within JP Morgan Chase in Scotland, and across the firm indeed. So I spend a lot of my working week, working month, strategizing on what we can do differently here in Edinburgh and across the firm, mentoring and helping and supporting and really understanding. I mean, I'm not a black guy, right? And at times, again, this has really hit my imposter syndrome. But by truly taking a step back and listening and recognizing that I can be part of the solution within our Bold BRG is super important to me. I was at the Black Professional Scotland Awards 2 weeks ago, which was fantastic, by the way. And I was absolutely blown away by some of the backstories of JP Morgan employees, but also outside of the firm, where they've came from on their journey, and also really humbled and a bit sad in many respects as to the trials and tribulations that some people have had to go through to get to where they have, right? So again, this is a massive anchor for me, right? It's incumbent upon me to create the right environment, the right diverse environment, and whether that's in my team directly or my extended team, it's a big thing for me just now.
Nice. So let's go back to the beginning. Where did it start? You talked about starting as a specialist. Did you go to university?
I went to college. I wasn't particularly academic, right? Although I'm sure I told my mum I was, right? The truth was I struggled to apply myself and do the work that was required to probably bounce into university. So I went to college. I did a HND in business management, which was probably just a distraction from going and working, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I just continued my high school for another 2 years. And I'm from Dunfermline, and Dunfermline and Livingston are the two ancestral homes of Sky TV in Scotland and the UK for contact centres. And one of my friends said, this is, again, back to 1996, right? One of my friends said, this place has just opened up. It's kind of like Dishes. Have you seen the Discovery Channel? I'm going, Discovery Channel, what's that? Or UK Gold. I didn't really know much of the product. This is super early in Sky's start, right? So anyway, I went down. It was with the agency at the time. They weren't really hiring any permanent staff, and it was outbound cold selling of Sky Dishes So I soon became a master of things that were on UK Gold, Sky News, and the Discovery Channel. As the outbound dialer was bouncing me from Shetland down to London somewhere. So listen, I loved it. I walked into a culture and an environment I didn't know existed, right? I mean, contact centers, they weren't brand new then, but it was pretty early in that industry, right? I loved the vibe. I loved the culture. I loved the fact that there were times where you got, opportunities just to play games. I found that I was good at talking to people and good at building relationships, right? So I think I also recompensed in my head that I would do it until I found a real job, right? And a lot of maybe people my age that have been in contact centers for the length of time that I have that similar backstory, right? It maybe wasn't perceived as a real job then, right? So yes.
It's a stopgap. It was a stopgap to what the real career was supposed to be.
I think it is, or it certainly was. It's definitely not now, right? But and listen, I met some fantastic people back then who supported and sponsored me. I moved on from Sky selling Sky to Telewest, outbound sales again. This was I think it was like selling dial-up internet discs at the time, right? And you can imagine some of those conversations where what's this, son? What's a computer? What's the internet, etc., etc. So again, though, I loved the culture. This was working in Glenrothes. I ended up staying with Telewest, NTL Telewest, and Virgin Media as it became for 12, 13 years. One of the first bosses that I had, a guy called Trevor Elliott, who was a fantastic inspiration to me. Really seen, I guess, something that you would hope that people still continue to see. So it's good being recognised as being a good specialist. It's more important to recognise the breadth that person can have, and do they have potential qualities to move into leadership, etc. Trevor helped me with that, and I moved from specialist to essentially running the sales and retention centre in Newcastle for Virgin Media. So that was over a 12-year period. And this is the bit where I moved the family. At that time, it was Laura, my wife, down to Newcastle. So we had 3-4 years there as I was working for Virgin Media. And Archie, my eldest son, was born in Newcastle. So he was one. I had an opportunity to take redundancy, and at the same time we wanted to move back to Scotland. We lived on Swan House Roundabout in Newcastle, so I don't know if you know it, but essentially it's a big roundabout. It was a nice apartment, don't get me wrong, but not cool for a 1-year-old. So we wanted to get back to Scotland and be with the family and be with the grandparents and such like. So opportunity to come back to Sky came up. So
and interesting that you also described it as an opportunity to take redundancy. Now, I know that people do like to take redundancy because it suits where they are in their life, but it's interesting that you use that phrase as well. It was an opportunity to take redundancy.
Yeah, listen, I was cool with it at the time, right? I mean, I loved the 12 years that I had with Virgin Media as it was. I absolutely am who I am through that grounding. That was my first leadership experiences, first line leadership, second line leadership. I remember doing presentations on acetates, getting them the wrong way around, all of that jolly good stuff, right? So that was my grounding on contact center leadership. But equally, I was keen to continue to stretch myself, and that came with an opportunity to move back to Scotland, being a little bit more financially sound. So it was a win-win for all of us, right? And yeah, I moved back to Sky. Went back to Sky as head of retention. I did various roles in Sky at this time, from head of service to transformation roles. Again, I loved I'm sure I still would. I loved the culture at Sky. To go back to Dunfermline and Livingston, some of the same old faces were there. That business itself is a phenomenally positive place to work. So I went back there. I had, again, another 5, maybe 6 years with Sky. I got to the point, Lee, and it's important for me to look through the lens of, you get one crack at your career, right? So I don't want to pension myself off, but I do recognize that you really need to stretch yourself in your career, right, and have no regrets. So I was a bit comfortable at Sky, if truth be told, right? I was in with the bricks. I kind of, I'd done a lot of roles, and I enjoyed it, but I wanted to stretch myself, and I took the opportunity to move to BT, which was different, right?
So did you go and you don't have to answer this, but did you therefore go looking for that role, or was it a role that knocked on the door at the right time?
There was a bit of the leadership team that was at Sky had moved to BT, so a bit of building out of a new team with new horizons, and the opportunity came my way, right? So, but it came my way at a time where I was probably actively looking anyway, and despite moving to another telco, I had recognised that I'd had 12, 13 years with Virgin Media, another 5 years with Sky, and I didn't really want to be pigeonholed. So I was trying at this time to start looking externally to telcos, right? But BT came along, and very different historically to Sky, very different kind of infrastructure opportunities, and very different people opportunities. And I wanted to really stretch myself. So I went to BT for 4 years and led a few of their sites up and down the UK, helped with their operating model transformation that we were going through at the time. Lots of opportunities to work collaboratively with unions, which was again a great experience for me that I hadn't experienced previously. And coming from a very, very people-centric space anyway, it was cool because the unions wanted what I wanted, and we weren't separate, so it was a cool way of working, right? And then after having been there for 4 years, the diversification opportunity to do something different came my way, which is Chase, right? I mean, I was kind of looking at energy or looking at financial services, and this opportunity came. So, what I would call out in terms of people that have inspired me throughout my career, my current boss, this is going to sound creepy, right? But my current boss, Alexa Collinson, has been absolutely fantastic for me. It's Lex that gave me the call to see if I'd be interested in Chase. At that time, everybody was under strict NDAs, so I couldn't really talk about where I was going, what I was doing. It was like that for 2 years. So yes, I've finally managed to diversify out of telcos and find myself in financial services.
Well, what an opportunity and what a career. And you talked about Alexa inspiring you. Are there others that have inspired you along the way? I guess your time at Sky must have been fairly special, but who else has inspired you along the way?
Yeah, I referenced Trevor, and certainly I think everybody kind of anchors back to their first boss, don't they, right? And certainly Lex, as I've said, right? I mean, I take inspiration day on day, right? And so genuinely, my inspiration is balanced with my work experiences, but also external, right? So I've already made reference to the awards that I was at. I walked away from there fully inspired with some of the backstories of some of our Black professionals in Scotland. I recently had an opportunity to open up a library. We do some fantastic work with the National Literacy Trust here at Chase. So I visited a primary school here in Edinburgh to open up a library, which sounds really, really grand, right? I mean, I was there to be with the kids and to learn from the kids, and we donated some books, etc. So I guess, yes, I get inspiration from people I meet in my career. I also get it from the peripheral things that I now can be involved in, and the opportunity that I've got to represent the firm that I work for, or to represent myself, right? And these magic moments, I think, are probably a bit more inspiring than people you meet throughout your career, right? So I balance that, Lee. I think it would be fair to say.
Interesting. So throughout your career, you are going to have been given advice from all sorts of places. From peers, from friends, from family, from bosses. What's been the best piece of advice that you ever received?
It's an interesting one, right? Because I think probably in my early career, I will have forgotten because I probably didn't listen to it, right? Which is part of my learning. Somebody once gave me a bit of advice, which I thought was weird at the time, right? Around managing your energy levels throughout the day and having meetings at certain times where, your circadian rhythm is right for the types of meeting that you're doing. So actually doing tasks and having certain meetings strategically at times throughout the day where you can be at your best, I think is really, really sage advice, right? I referenced earlier that I spend, the first part of the day doing my admin. I do my emails. I try not to look at my emails past kind of 8 o'clock in the morning. I might go back later on in the evening. But being tactical about your diary, recognizing in yourself where your energy levels are. Don't burn out early in the day. It's hard to recover. You can make poor decisions. You can be a bit reactive later on in the day. So really managing yourself, managing your state, managing your mind, managing your energy levels, but being tactical with that throughout the diary invites and the types of meetings that you actually have at times where it best suits you to be at your best, right? Rather than slave to everything that comes in, yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what? I could do with taking that advice. Maybe that's what I should do in Career Talk going forward, is actually just find advice that I can take advantage of. Because I am aware of a number of people that manage their meetings based on where they are most productive. And actually, I know some people that will only have meetings in the afternoon. They will not have a meeting in the morning. So it's fascinating, isn't it? So on that basis, what do you wish you'd learned sooner? Is that what you'd wish you'd learned sooner?
Listen, I touched upon kind of being a chameleon. I think what I wished I'd learned sooner was to, yes, you can steal with pride, and you should look at people that are successful around you and go, wow, they do that and it's really cool. Maybe I could do it. I was too fixated with that. And, through being relatively senior in organizations, I would still try and morph for the environment or copy people. And I wish I'd learned that sooner, because it's very, very tiring. You lose track of who you are. You're eating your authenticity. It comes across that you're inauthentic. So I wish I'd learned sooner that, hey, I'm going to start singing, I am who I am. And yes, you need to and should be respectful to the environment that you're in and the expectations of you, but find yourself in a place that respects who you are and allows you to be who you are and to be authentic, right? And I've tried to be too many different people at different times, and it's tough, right? You are you, so love it and embrace it, right?
That for me is incredible advice. That whole be you. I'm completely with you. I think you can't live your life, can you? Trying to be something else. You need to be you in order to be happy. Chris, this has been fantastic. And now I have got 3 quick questions that I'd like to finish on, if I may. First is, what did you have for breakfast today?
This is funny, right? And I will make it quick. Honestly, for probably the last 20 years, I've had the same breakfasts every morning, wherever I possibly can, which is Marmite on toast, a banana, a cup of tea, and a Barocca. And I'm just a creature of habit, and I hate thinking about it, right? So I just have it. I'm trying to stay off bread. So for the last week, or I'm trying to cut down bread anyway. So for the last week, I've moved away from Marmite and toast, and I'm having fruit and fibre or crunchy nut cornflakes. So that with a banana, a nice cup of Yorkshire tea, and a Barocca, just in case.
Fruit and fibre is not the same, is it, as Marmite on toast?
A bit cardboard, but hey.
Yeah, well done for trying. And so interestingly, in where it sounds like your roots are more firmly in Scotland, football or rugby?
It's definitely football. I did play rugby, but football. Both my boys play football, are very active in football. I'm a passionate Dunfermline Athletic fan. I go to every game where I can, and so yeah, I love watching football. Big Man City fan, which is my English team. So yeah, heavy football family.
And my final question: what would you like to spend more time doing?
Sleeping. I do manage to get those quieter moments, right? And I like to kind of binge Netflix series, and I find myself watching kind of weird and probably not wonderful things, but I just like to really switch off and disengage and be a little bit selfish with my time. So probably a little bit more time for me, would be fantastic.
And it's really hard when you're in a senior role, and you're trying to do that balance of doing your job, supporting the people around you, spending time with your family, and actually you're right, that you time where you do get to disengage I think I have some really rubbish games on my laptop, on my phone, and I do get told off. Why are you playing those games? And it's that complete disengagement.
Switch it off and let it all flow over you, Lee, right? That's the thing.
Exactly. Chris, thank you so much for giving us your time today, especially considering just how busy you are. Really, really appreciate it. And again, huge congratulations on being the Contact Centre Leader of the Year this year.
Thank you ever so much, Lee. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And hey, if you want to watch this episode again, then you can watch it on ccma.org.uk, and there's loads more there that you can watch too. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.